Hello everyone, Cercion here. How are you all doing today? After beating Legends Arceus with only Kanto, Johto, and Hoennian Pokemon, the time has finally come to finish off this region-restricted series by figuring out if I can beat Pokemon Legends Arceus with only Sinnohian Pokemon. The rules of the run are as follows. While in battle, I can only use Sinnohian Pokemon. I'll also only be allowed to catch and battle Sinnohian Pokemon in the wild. No using items during trainer battles, and no using glitches or exploits. Obviously, this is going to be a pretty easy challenge for me to beat, but much like my Kanto only playthrough, I'm curious to see what kind of team I'll be rolling with by the end of the game. With all that out of the way, let's get into the run. Like all these challenges, we begin our journey by being isekai to the world of Pokemon by Almighty Arceus. We then wake up on Prelude Beach where we meet Professor Laventon before grabbing our ARC phone and helping the hapless professor wrangle up his runaway Pokemon. We're then brought down to Jubilife Village where we meet the colorful cast of characters whose dreams will be completely crushing by the end of our journey. We're tasked with catching a Bidoof, Starly, and Shinx by Captain Celine the following morning before choosing our starter Pokemon who we use to tackle spam Velos Togepi into oblivion. We then set off for the Obsidian Fieldlands and swiftly scoop up our Sinnohian targets, officially setting our challenge into go mode in the process. We receive our Survey Corps uniform from Captain Celine upon returning to Jubilife Village before having our spine shattered by Commander Komodo as a part of his initiation ritual. After quickly completing Ray's crafting tutorial, we're handed a Sparrow-bound Pokédex from Professor Laventon before heading back to the Fieldlands where we begin catching all the Bidoof, Starly, and Shinx within Pokeball throwing distance. We make sure to catch a few Weasel along with some Mime Jr. and Shellos that we bait with berries before sleeping until nighttime in order to catch some Drifloon. One of the Shellos we caught ended up having a fantastic nature, so we named them Iwatani before evolving our Bidoof, Starly, and Shinx, who gained the XP to do so thanks to our massive catching spree. We then spoke with Professor Laventon, who told us that we'd earned more than enough research points to increase our rank, which we do by receiving our first star from Captain Celine upon returning to Jubilife Village. We demolish Ray's partner Pikachu in a battle at the training grounds the very next day before heading to the Fieldlands to do the exact same thing to Mai's Munchlax. We take a few minutes to catch some Kricketot in the surrounding area before making our way over to Deer Track Heights where we quickly catch the Alpha Kricketune that's been harassing the local fauna. Ray then swings by to help us set up a secondary base camp for the Fieldlands before Laventon informs us that we've managed to acquire enough research points to increase our rank during this short expedition. We receive our second star from Captain Celine the following day before reporting to Commander Komodo's office where we meet the leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clan. We're then tasked with investigating the sudden frenzy of the Pearl clan's noble, Kleavor, which means we're off to speak with Kleavor's warden Leon for answers. Upon returning to the Fieldlands, we manage to stumble upon a Munchlax who we catch with relative ease before heading to the Grand Tree Arena where we quickly catch a few Combee and Baneri. We then speak with the Pipsqueak prodigy who refuses to aid our endeavors like always, so we send his gruesome Goomy to the great beyond, which convinces him to spill the beans on how to simmer Kleavor down. We take this information to Professor Laventon, who reasons that the Manic Mantis will surely calm down after having its favorite foods pelted at his face, before heading back to the Fieldlands where Mai and Adaman teach us how to call upon the aid of the Deer Track's protector, Weirdeer. We then head over to the Grand Tree Arena where we easily blitz through Irda's Frosty Fennec with two Thunderfangs from Luxio before swiftly subduing the frenzy of the noble Lord of the Woods. After returning to Jubilife Village to inform Commander Komodo about our mission's success, we have a quick chat with Vesa outside the Galaxy Hall to begin the riveting process of acquiring Spiritomb. We meet Arezu the following day, who's here seeking the Galaxy team's aid in dealing with an Ursaluna that's wreaking havoc in the Crimson Mirelands. Naturally, Komodo chooses to push this responsibility onto us in order to save his own skin before we have a quick battle with Ray, who almost takes out our Luxio with his Pikachu Pikachu's quick attack spam. Taking the near defeat of a single one of my Pokemon very personally, I decide to trek back to the Fieldlands for another massive catching spree. During this colossal excursion, we not only managed to catch a Leafeon from a space-time distortion, which will be very helpful in the near future, but also a shiny Bidoof, which I take as a sign that my Pokemon had done enough grinding. Professor Laventon lets us know that our extensive grinding session granted us enough research points to increase our rank, so we swiftly scoop up our 3rd star from Captain Celine before making our way over to the Mirelands. We're immediately lambasted by Warden Kalaba upon our arrival, who scolds us for giving Kleavor a concussion before making a complete fool out of Volo, whose Pokemon get annihilated by Leafeon's Leaf Blade. He then tells us that Warden Kalaba is cranky because a trio of thieves stole a fragment of the Salacion Ruins wall, who we tracked down to their nearby campsite. We easily wreck Coin's Toxicroak with a strong-style aerial ace from Rock the Staravia before delivering the stolen wall fragment to Warden Kalaba, who tells us to meet her at the Sludge Mound if we wish to battle the Berserk Bear of the Mirelands. Instead of immediately heading over there to do just that, we choose to trek across the Mirelands in order to start catching most of the new Pokemon now available to us. The shining star of this miniature catching spree ended up being this Turtwig with a neutral nature, who we fed plenty of grit items and named Adama. We then head over to the Sludge Mound to confront the Manic Major, who gets 2-shot by Leafeon's Leaf Blade before being force-fed a fistful of Toxicon by Warden Kalaba. Having tamed Ursaluna, we attempt to return to Jubilife Village to inform Commander Commodore of our mission's success, but get sent straight back to the Mirelands to uncover the reason behind Arezu's secretive scheming. We quickly find Arezu with the help of Ursaluna, who gives us her usual sob story before Kalaba and Adamant swing by to begin cleaning up the huge mess caused by her duplicitous behavior. We then make our way over to the Brave Arena to pacify the Diamond Clan's delirious dancer before trekking around the Mirelands for a few hours in order to secure the research points necessary to increase our rank. This had the added benefit of leveling up all my Pokemon, so after concluding our 18th catching spree, we evolved Luxio into Luxray, Rock into Staraptor, Iwatani into Gastrodon, and Adama into Torterra. Naturally, all this mucking about gave us more than enough research points to increase our rank, so we made our way back to Jubilife Village to receive our 4th star from Captain Celine. We have a quick chat with Arezu the following day, who's decided to become our village's chief hairdresser before being dragged down to Prelude Beach to be paraded in front of some aspiring residents by Commander Commodore. After Ray stops by to bail us out of this embarrassing situation, we head back to the village for a much-needed swap to our style before receiving the lowdown on all the issues cropping up in the Cobalt Coastlands. Upon arriving in said coastlands, we're challenged to a battle by Irida, who watched in horror as Rock mercilessly beat her frail Phoenix to a bloody pulp. She then asked us to help her pal Polina raise the Prior Lord's offspring into a mighty noble, which we decide to put on hold in order to catch some of the new Sinonian Pokemon strewn about the coastlands. We then spoke with Warden Polina, who threatened to throw us off this cliff for daring to suggest putting her precious pup through any more trauma than it's already been in. She points us in the direction of her hubby's humble abode to get us off her back, where we learn from Iscan that we'll need to catch a Dusclops in order to secure a means of sailing the Hisuian seas. This unfortunately means we're forced to fail the challenge in order to progress the story, so we quickly nab our Cycloptic Spectre along with a few random Driftbloom before making our way back over to Iscan's hut. We then have our Dusclops fire off a Dark Pulse at some macabre meat to create some spectral steak, which we swiftly deliver to Basculegion down at the seashore, earning us the Phantasmal Fish's eternal loyalty. The Misfortune Sisters then swoop in and dognap one of Polina's Growliths, so we make our way over to Firespit Island to confront the treacherous trio of thieves. We're easily able to one-shot every single one of their Pokemon with the combined might of Rock and Adama before Paulina's Meekly Mutt arrives on the scene and evolves into Arcanine upon seeing its brother in peril. The conflagrant canine is then sent into a frantic frenzy by a divine giant bolt of lightning, which we swiftly subdue with the help of Irida, who prepared a bountiful batch of bombs for us. We then watch Warden Polina say bye-bye to her fearsome Fido before wandering around the coastlands for a few hours in order to level up all our Pokemon and secure the research points necessary to obtain the 5th and final star we need to beat the game. After accomplishing our goal, we return to Jubilife Village to acquire said star from Captain Celine before being tasked with quelling the frenzy of the Cornet Highlands Galvanic Apricorn the very next day. Adaman decides to challenge us to a battle before our departure, and after absolutely humiliating him in front of the entire village, we make our way over to the Highlands where we find a shiny Luxray immediately upon our arrival. Sadly, this luminous lion won't be making it onto the team as the Luxray that's already on our roster hasn't seen a lick of combat since the Obsidian Fieldlands. We then speak with Warden Ingo, who agrees to give us a tour of the Highlands, which gets sabotaged by Warden Melly's shenanigans. After obliterating Melly's Skuntank with Iwatani's Earth Power, Ingo brings us to our tour's final destination, where he suggests we have a battle in order to pass the time until his partner Sneezer arrives. Brock's Brave Bird makes short work of his Machoke and Tangela before Ingo's Gliscor sent our Brave Bird straight to Valhalla with 2 quick attacks followed by a poison jab. Iwatani avenges our valiant avian by sending the gleeful Gliscor flying with a quad-effective Icy Wind, which earns us the respect of the Highlands' mighty mountain climber. We then make a mad dash directly over to the Moonview Arena, where we absolutely manhandle Melly with Iwatani before swiftly steamrolling the Highlands' notorious noble with a bountiful barrage of bombs. We're then given some words of wisdom by Adamant before spending the next hour or so attempting to catch an Alpha Gabite with a decent nature. Once we do, we name our darling dragoness Cynthia before evolving her into Garchomp and making our way over to the Fieldlands to repeat the process until we caught a Togekiss with a fantastic nature who we named Charlemagne. We then return to Jubilife Village for some much needed R&R before reporting to Commander Komodo the following day, who tasks us with quelling the frenzy of Hisui's final noble located in the Alabaster Icelands. After quickly dispatching Ray's pitiful attempt at a rematch, we make our way over to the Icelands where we're told to speak with Avalug's warden over at Avalug's Legacy. Instead of doing that, however, we took some time to try and catch our next party member. It took a while, but we eventually managed to catch a Riolu with some pretty good potential, who we named Riley before training him up on the local Bibarel population. After evolving him into Lucario, we made a beeline straight over to Avalug's Legacy, where Garrick demanded a battle for wasting his time with our shenanigans. We swiftly shatter his Arctic companions with our newfound friend before learning that we'll need a chunk of eternal ice in order to make some soothing bombs for Avalug. Luckily, Sabi just happens to swing on by with the only means for us to obtain said item, and after playing her riveting game of cat and mouse, she leads us directly into an ambush within Snowpoint Temple. Iwatani is able to send each of her elite evolutions packing with relative ease before we head on up to the temple's roof to battle Hisui's gallant glider. Cynthia brings the Brave Bird down with 2 Dragon Claws, earning us the Valiant Avian's allegiance, which we use to acquire a chunk of eternal ice from the peak of Avalug's Legacy. We then hand the wad of ice over to Garrick, who mashes it into some bombs, which we use to swiftly pacify the tundral terror of the Icelands. After receiving a warm round of applause from the Peanut Gallery, we begin the tedious process of collecting all the wisps scattered throughout Hisui in order to acquire our final party member. Before we can leave the Icelands, however, we're informed by Professor Laventon that we can increase our rank, so we make a quick stop at Jubilife Village to receive our 6th star from Captain Celine. We then manage to secure all 108 wisps after about an hour of searching, which grants us the ability to catch a Spiritomb located in the Crimson Mirelands. We name our curious companion Avis before reporting to Commander Komodo, who tells us how he's looking forward to the peaceful days that are sure to come in the near future. Komodo somehow finds a way to blame us for the sky turning red and banishes us from the village until we're able to prove our innocence. Unfortunately, none of the Fieldlands wardens were willing to aid us out of fear of having their spines shattered by Commander Komodo. Thankfully, Volo doesn't have a spine, so he was more than willing to show us to a secret hideout where we got the rundown on how to end the apocalypse from Miss Kogita. We choose to bring Irda along with us since we chose Adaman last time before making our way over to Lake Verity where we easily open the once sealed cavern with our arc phone. Riley wrecks the Alpha Hisuian Gudra residing within with 2 aura spheres before we're forced to take Mespert's Trial of Emotions, who awards us with a token of their favor upon its completion. We then made our way over to Lake Acuity where Avis sent Yuxi's Spectrum Storage straight to the underworld with a strong style Dark Pulse. We receive our second blessing upon passing Yuxi's Trivial Trial of Knowledge before making our way over to Lake Valor where Adama annihilated the Alpha Overquill guarding the cavern with a mighty headlong rush. We then play a quick game of dodgeball with Azelf, who gives us the final blessing we need to forge the red chain at the Shrouded Ruins. With the red chain now in hand, we make a beeline straight over to Jubilife Village where we learn from Captain Celine that Commander Komodo has taken a small battalion up to Mount Coronet to try his luck at shattering God's spine. We attempt to scale Mount Coronet's snowy summit to prevent Komodo from meeting an untimely demise, but get stopped in our tracks by Benny, whose sole desire was to battle us with his vast array of ancient ninja techniques. We end up blitzing through most of his team with Adama, who eventually goes down to a sword stance boosted drain punch from Benny's Gallade. Charlemagne avenges Adama by obliterating the gallant Gallade with a strong style moonblast before we head on up to the mountain summit to battle Commander Komodo. Avis brings Komodo's Hisuian Braviary down with a strong style Shadow Ball before being obliterated by a draining kiss from a buffed up Clefable the following turn. However, this is exactly what we wanted, as we're now able to send out Riley, who sets up with Bolka before proceeding to sweep through the rest of Komodo's team with very little effort. With Komodo's pride now in pieces, we can make our way over to the ancient Tepong summit and challenge Palkia after weakening it with the power of the red chain. After successfully catching the spatial deity in a mere Pokeball, we witness Palkia's brother throw a tantrum so large that we're forced to retreat from the premises. Once everyone is a safe enough distance away, we begin hatching a plan to end the secondary calamity, culminating in us traveling to the Primeval Grotto to obtain some special ore we need to craft this game's grand MacGuffin. We swiftly subdue the Meddlesome Misfortune Sisters guarding said ore, which gets crafted into the Origin Ball back at Jubilife Village. We then bring the MacGuffin Ball to the summit of Mount Coronet, where we use it to catch the deranged deity after an anticlimactic battle for the ages. With the base game now complete, we can move on into the post game where we're forced to complete Volo's super fun scavenger hunt before we can serve him his karmic comeuppance. I choose to not use any of the legendary Pokemon caught during this excursion, as beating the game with them just wouldn't feel fulfilling to me. With that said, we head on down to Prelude Beach for our rematch with Commander Komodo, whose Golem gets one-shot by Iwatani's Water Pulse. We then get into a heated back and forth between Komodo's following Snorlax, who he full restores before taking Iwatani out with a high horsepower. We retaliate by sending out Riley, who sets up with Calm Mind before proceeding to blitz through most of Komodo's terrified team. In a hilarious turn of events, Komodo manages to take Riley out with his Hisuian Braviary, leading to us once again bringing out Avis to shoot down the valiant Avian with a strong style Shadow Ball. We then receive the fist plate from our crestfallen commander before heading out to the Icelands for an extensive grinding session. We return to Jubilife Village upon our Pokemon reaching level 80, where we gussied up their movesets before scaling Mount Coronet to face the infamous Volo Gauntlet. Cynthia crushes Volo's lead Spiritomb with an agile and strong style bulldoze before being ultimately bested by the following Togekiss's Calm Mind boosted Moonblast. We then send in Riley, who sets up with Calm Mind before proceeding to go on a vengeance-fueled rampage, easily finishing off the already weakened Togekiss with an Ice Punch before one-shotting the following Lucario and Hisuian Arcanine with Aura Sphere. Riley's rampage is sadly brought to an end by an Earth Power from Volo's very own Garchomp. However, the damage to his team had already been done and were easily able to finish off both of Volo's remaining Pokemon with some Calm Mind boosted Shadow Balls from Avis. Thanks to the way I had set up my party prior to this battle, we are immediately able to start recover stalling with Iwatani in order to waste Giratina's limited Shadow Force PP. Iwatani managed to successfully bring Giratina into its second phase after accomplishing this tedious task before being obliterated by a retaliatory Shadow Force from the enraged Eldritch entity. We then sent in Avis to begin another rousing round of PowerPoint stalling, which swiftly devolved into one of the most baffling fits of RNG-based insanity I've ever witnessed. I watched in awe as a slumbering Avis proceeded to dodge Giratina's final 3 Shadow Forces before sending the Sinister Spectre straight to the Shadow Realm with 2 Shadow Balls. This is where I usually give y'all a happy little wrap up for this run, but that's sadly not gonna be the case this time. You may have noticed the very sudden shifts in audio quality throughout this video, and that's due to me using multiple different mics throughout this recording. To make a long story short, I've become very self-conscious of my voice as of late and can no longer produce the quality of audio commentary that I feel like you people deserve. This has culminated in me making the decision to no longer use audio commentary when producing these videos, as it has become far too strenuous for me to handle. With that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.